Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. As always, want to thank everybody for the support over on Patreon. Couldn't do it without you guys. Again, much gratitude.
And on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So I wanted to talk about the very, very real reality of what happens with trauma and how trauma gets buried but has to be faced at some point in time. And when you look at everything that's going on the globe, from the mass migrations of people that in many cases are fleeing war, the specter of another world war that's been dangling over us for quite a while, it's enough to make you kind of go crazy. Yeah, add to that the economic situation, the geopolitical situation, losing loved ones, the health crisis that we find ourselves in with life expectancy declining. Many couples, maybe they want to have kids, but they're afraid to have kids, or they can't have kids because, again, sperm counts have declined, fertility rates have declined. Many people around the world face insecurities of so many different things, from economic, food, just work, you name it. It's kind of a crazy place, and people are in this time maybe facing more trauma than we have had in other past ages. As you see, trauma of major kind, it could lead to all sorts of different issues. And certainly, people deal with things in different ways. As we have so many times said, now is not the time to bury yourself in one form of substance abuse or other types of abuse. Now is the time to be sober, aware, and awake. But it is something that so many people face, from alcoholism to all sorts of other issues. It's really a case where the world is traumatized in multiple ways. A major trauma can be the loss of your pet. As we shared with you guys, we've lost Zeke, just speaking from our point of view. And loss of loved ones, a human, obviously. And who isn't facing the loss of somebody that at this point in time? Seems like most people know somebody or multiple people that have left the world ahead of schedule, at least what you would think. Then, active combat absolutely can cause PTSD and trauma that can be very, very hard to deal with. Natural disasters, they're all over the place. And you could go on down the list, and there's many things that are coming up now about people in very, very high places that have not necessarily gone through trauma, but been the cause of trauma. And trauma does get buried in our genes. And when we look to epigenetics, we can see that our DNA is programming, and the trauma can pre-program our DNA in a negative light. So all these things add up to more and more challenges for humanities, and also especially for those that would be classified as a light worker starseed. And again, there's many other terms out there too, wave showers, indigo, it goes on and on with the different terms. But let's just say that a lot of people came here, incarnated here with the express intent of helping others through trauma.
Mm-hmm. Well, first I want to say that no one is really broken. That's first and foremost. You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. Absolutely nothing wrong with you. With that said, I want to say what people have gone through when they do go through a major trauma, they are responding appropriately for the trauma that they went through. There's some that are obvious that are going to cause trauma, and immediate trauma, death of a pet or a loved one. Usually that's just instant onset. Some other ones that are not so instant, that are very, very sneaky, that I've found that we work with people on is PTSD from active combat or incarceration. But it doesn't stop there. PTSD can come from relationships. Really, really difficult relationships can do damage on you. Whether or not maybe you both are really good people, but you came together and you're just not compatible, and you spent 10 years trying to become compatible, and that just left you both in a lot of trauma. So there's that, and that's not so obvious, but it's definitely there. Natural disasters, that's pretty instant. Major surgery, life-threatening illnesses. Those are things that in life we walk through and we go through, and it's like, okay, I have the surgery scheduled. I'm just going to go through that and come out of the surgery. Life-threatening illnesses, you might go through a lot of pain and you're just kind of in constant pain. So to me, those two traumas, the surgery and the illnesses, can carry on for years and years and years. If you have major surgery and then something happens to the part of your body that you had surgery on, that fear comes back. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go through this pain again. And I'm one that I really think surgery should be looked at absolute last. If you have an emergency, then take care of that. But there's a lot of different modalities to do besides going through surgery, because then you're opening up the skin, you're messing with the fascia, you're messing with the energetic body, the pain body, the mental body, the astral body, and you have to go back and fix those at some point, or you just keep going down the wrong trajectory. And these things just are not so obvious. Child abuse, of course, child abuse. Now that comes on usually much later in life. If you go through certain child abuses, you might not be ready to deal with them until you're midlife, and then you think back and you look at maybe some relationships you were been in and you say, wow, that didn't go too well. Why do I keep picking up, bad partners, bad spouses? Why do I keep picking up people who hurt me? And why is it my relationships that I would think that go well, they don't go well? And and I can tell you, when it comes to childhood, our parents, or those who we choose to be our parents, carry a certain frequency and a certain vibration. And as a child, you're around them and you pick up a familiarity to this frequency and to this vibration of your parents. And let's say they're both abusive, and it becomes normal to you. So with that normalcy in place, you go through life and you pick out partners or situations, not because they're good for you, but because they're familiar to you. I really want that to hit home. And this is where it becomes important to heal your trauma. But keep in mind, you're still reacting appropriately to the things that have happened to you. So you are not broken. You absolutely should be acting this way if you've been hurt. So these are some things we want to talk about that are not so obvious. Hating your job can cause a lot of long-term trauma. Wrong geography, feeling stuck in a loveless relationship where you're neglected. Needs not met. We really need to have our needs met. So when it comes to ourselves or our partners, that's a really important one, because if your needs are not getting met, then you lose a lot of trust in the world around you, yourself, your partner, and that makes life difficult. So whatever that need is, look around, be open-minded, think outside the box, get your needs met. Work with somebody, work with a counselor, work with a close friend, and figure out, what is this that I need to do for myself? And then chronic pain. Chronic pain's a big one. And I can tell you guys, the reason I got into biofield tuning was from my own trauma, my own PTSD, physical, emotional, relationship, parent. And I realized through my research that it was doing a great deal for those who were in combat and who had combat PTSD. So going through all the traditional roads, trying to heal myself through Western medicine, because I did not know any better, that did not work. And I learned my lesson probably really hard. It was hard lessons. I found biofield tuning, and that got me started on a better path, because then I realized that if I can straighten out my energy body and pattern my energy body, then that helps me with the actions and behaviors that I need to do to bring myself to a state of healing.
Absolutely. You know, it's an interesting time because there's so much being released to the public that does have significance and is actually accurate. That's coming out in some of the science, like when we're talking about epigenetics and the fact that we can literally reprogram our DNA ourselves, and it's really through intent. And it's through also processing all these past traumas, which in some cases, again, as we've touched on in past videos, may not even be your own, so to speak. They could be inherited. This is saying toning is the way through attunement and through entrainment. What happens when somebody works on you and they're able to maintain a higher vibrational frequency than you are able to maintain, then that would be the process by which the energy body takes on the characteristics of that other person, whether it's some sort of healer, shaman, even perhaps a naturopathic type of physician that truly does have a strong spiritual practice as well. You basically take on their vibrational frequency, and that will pour through the various layers of the energy body in order to bring about healing. Again, in traditional Chinese medicine, it's thought that all disease is dis-ease, which is emotional in nature. And it's been said, again, there's certain parts of the body that have certain characteristics. Like if your lower back is hurting, then maybe you're worried about finances. If you're having foot problems or knee problems, then maybe it's about mobility, and maybe that mobility is literally related to being stuck in a job or stuck in a relationship, stuck in a geographic location. The body does keep the score, so to speak. So what is real is that when you have these traumas you can't process, they will show up in different parts of the body. It could be digestive issues, it could be indigestion, or it could be constipation, or it could be diarrhea, it could be irritable bowel syndrome. It could be all sorts of things depending on what the emotions are, because each emotion is tied into a different organ system. Like the kidneys are fear. So if you are very, very fearful in life, again, that could lead to lower back pain. Or if you're processing traumas and those fears go back to childhood, there could be, again, your lower back pain issue. Heart fluctuations. Again, the heart is where so much of our emotions get purged and processed through. So yeah, absolutely. If you've had your heart broken in the past by whether it's some sort of partner, lover, or it could be best friend, loss of a best friend, it could be parents, it could be so many different things. So this is a good little cute little diagram to see, but it's also known in acupuncture and in Chinese medicine. And in fact, again, there's something called the Luo channels. These are connecting vessels, and these are where traumas are stored in our body. If you've ever been to a body worker, or if you've ever been to an acupuncturist, sometimes you could be getting worked on, and all of a sudden you want to cry, and you don't know where this is coming from. Or you might be getting the giggles, and you don't know where it's coming from. You're literally, the body work, the acupuncture, The energy work is working on purging and releasing energies that have been stored there sometimes for decades.
And decades and decades. And this goes back and back and back. And that's the hard part, because you might be one who is processing emotions for, pardon me, family. Myself, I didn't realize that my father had a lot of trauma. He didn't talk about it. He hid it completely. It was a really big problem. It was trauma like beyond most people's comprehension. It was just horrible. And he shut it down, and he did not talk about it, and he tried to proceed in life as if it didn't happen. Unfortunately, he carried those vibrations. He just shoved down the trauma and pretended that it wasn't there. Well, guess what? I'm born into that, and I'm born with those vibrations and those frequencies of trauma that I have to work through. So parents just don't know. I mean, he thought he was doing the right thing. He was doing the best that he could. And always remember this one thing: hurt people hurt people. And that's just the way it is. So if your parents were abused, they might be abusive to you or to others. And we need to recognize that for what it is. And really important to help yourself, whatever you have been through. It's not our job to help fix our parents. You know, sometimes children and parents, and through past life dealings, maybe there is something in place that's in your contract, in your life contract, and yes, you do help your parent. But most of the time, you want your focus to just be on you. So understanding the family history really can be very, very helpful. It can bring a lot of light bulbs to the situation. It can bring a lot of healing. And maybe just by healing yourself, you are healing your parent if they watch you heal. But keep in mind your children as well. So healing yourself is going to automatically translate to your children. It's going to automatically translate to your ancestors. You need not worry what your ancestors or children are going through. You simply need to focus on you. Doing things like body work, doing things like Qigong and meditation, energy work, are all things that are going to help you process these emotions. And like Mike said, a lot of times you might have emotional outbursts. You might start crying. We get a lot of people who just break out crying and they don't know why. They just start crying. And it's because they're healing. We were able to diffuse something. You know, you don't need to spend a lot of time to try to figure out, why am I crying? No, the body keeps score. It really does. So what happened when you just start crying out of nowhere is there was a point or something happened in your life. You were not able to process it properly. You were busy for various reasons. Could be work, could be kids, could be anything. Could be just because you didn't want to deal with it, so you just shove it down. But while we're doing energy work and we diffuse that, and all of a sudden the tears come up, well, finally you're processing it, and your body is going to be very grateful for that, and you will find a form of healing. It's just something that is a little bit slow, but I found it to be so very rewarding, because then you wake up one day and, oh my gosh, you feel human. You don't feel like you have like 500 pounds on your shoulders, because you're able to process through information rather quickly.
Absolutely. You know, it's all about balance and balancing our energies. And in order to achieve true balance and homeostasis, we need to release and let go of that which has impacted us deeply in a negative way. And as Cindy was alluding to, you know, with her father, that DNA lineage. And we can certainly pray and send positive intentions to those that have passed on, and it will benefit them. I remember doing Qigong in Nevada, and there was this young man that had died, I believe, in a car accident is what we got, who would keep coming into the room when we're doing Qigong. He had, passed on, died in a car accident. And he would stand right next to us when we're doing Qigong, because the energy we were drawing in, him being around us, was helping him from the other side, from the astral. it was literally helping him to process the things that he needed to process so he could move on and either take another incarnation or go up into a higher dimension, a density of consciousness. So it's fascinating to see these things, but ultimately there is one ocean of consciousness, and while we appear to be independent waves or droplets of water in this ocean, it is completely connected. And so we can do work that will help not just going back in time, but also going forward in time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's really good to know. I mean, it was helpful for me to understand the backwards and forwards of it, because I'm one who, it's hard for me to do stuff for myself. But if I pull in my children or my family, it's like, oh, I can do it for them. And that has a lot to do with low self-esteem. It just does. And it has a lot to do with what you allowed to happen to you in your life. So sometimes you have to find the way. What way is going to get you there? So with me and my understanding that, yes, it's going to bring my children a great deal of healing and my grandchildren, this helps me move forward and do what I need to do for me. And that's how I get there. You see how I met my needs. This is how I meet my needs. I have to get it done. Sometimes I have to play dot to dot with my brain and get there in another way that might not be conventional. Some people might not even agree with it, but that's what I need right now, and that I find acceptance in that. And acceptance is another really important aspect to it all too. Acceptance is sorry, it's acceptance. It's realizing that okay, this is the direction you have to take, or this is the diet that I have to do. These are the supplements that I need to take. And it's not questioning that anymore. You've gone many different routes. You've tried many different things, and it boils down to this one thing. It's like, okay, fine, I accept that. That's what I have to do for me. And it's okay. So it's kind of like laying to rest all of the ifs, ands, or buts about healing.
Absolutely. So I hope you guys found this interesting. It really is fascinating. And with humanity in general, it really goes all the way back to these wars that took place a long time ago. And, as the story goes, a galaxy far, far away. Well, our galaxy, different solar systems, different planets, because, again, humanity itself, we are all refugees. That's the big reveal. We are refugees in the bigger picture. So when you see migrants going from one country to another, it really is a representation of what's happened on a planetary scale. This is really a huge reveal. It's the system that does this to us purposefully to tie us into a pattern of trauma, which will beget more and more trauma unless we deal with it. And that's what we're here to do in these times, because this is the shifting of an age. In case you've never clicked the little drop down on every single video that we put up, all the information's there for making an appointment with us, and it covers what we do. Again, we do our transactions through Ko-Fi, which goes into our PayPal. There's links there. There's links to our website. There's links to we are affiliates with Promo Life, OZONE. Therapy is powerful, and we do believe in that. So, if you're curious, just click the little drop down. All the information is there, including how to email us, and reach out to us, evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com, and we'll set you up with an appointment. It's usually a couple weeks to get on the schedule. And as always, guys, this takes teamwork. And what better example of teamwork can we see than through Mother Nature? Working together for the greater good. And even when some are doing things that are purposely traumatic, we are still going to shift the paradigm, and that is the bottom line.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.